Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good evening. You're watching the Sultans of Oman television. Here's the 8:30 news. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos and Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II of the United Kingdom, Northern Ireland and Head of Commonwealth attended this afternoon the equestrian show and race held at Medinat Al-Adiyat in Seeb in honor of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Upon the arrival of His Majesty the Sultan and Her Majesty the Queen to the royal dais, the British national anthem was played. Then the joint military celebration group, the Royal Cavalry and the Royal Guard of Oman Cavalry and the Royal Household Troops presented a joint show. Then a horse-mounted cavalry group held a show of spear game and they hit their targets in the ground.
Their sons may go with the fair to sport, carrying heart and the sword in hand. Fatherland, or ready to die, or ready to die.
After that, first round of a tarheeb race for domestic Arab thoroughbred horses for a distance of 2,100 meters was conducted. Then a show of tent pegging for male and female jockeys were presented and showed their skills in using sword and bow and arrow. Also, a horse carriage show was presented with various formations. After that, a show for horse dance with the participation of flute and drums along with children carriages accompanied by musical pieces. Then a show of various offsprings of horses and ponies were conducted before the royal dais. After that, a pyramid formation was presented by a group of equestrians and they carried the flags of the Sultanate and the United Kingdom. Al-Arda riding and a horse sleeping show was displayed. Then the Royal Household Troops Cavalry presented the equestrian dance to the accompaniment of Al-Majd band. After that, a show for traditional carriage was conducted as a group of cavalry presented a heavy cart race. Then the March of Hambal for male and female jockeys, our troika display and horseback jumping skills were carried out. And then a jockey rode on 3 horses at a time. Then the second round, Al-Adiyat. The second round, Al-Adiyat race for Arab thoroughbred horses for a distance of 1,100 meters, allocated to female jockeys, followed by a musical show performed by equestrians from the Royal Guard of Oman and the 1st and 2nd Royal Cavalry Band. After that, a show horse riding skills and Zinat al-Arabat carriage show were presented before the royal days. A group of female jockeys also presented aside riding skills.
وياتي المتفائز المركز الثاني وتمثيل في المركز الثالث، تمثيل في المركز الثالث. اذا الحظ المدني
Then the third round, a Salam race for heavy carriages for a distance of 2,100 meters, followed by joy rides for children, horse-mounted show, art of carriage ride were presented. Then the Royal Cavalry, the Royal Guard of Oman Cavalry and the Royal Household Troops presented a musical show. Also, a group of female jockeys presented similar show before the royal days. After that, a group of male and female jockeys presented an interesting show of different skills of horsemanship followed by a joint horse march and then a carriage pulled by 29 Arab thoroughbred horses, which is a new record attained by the Royal Cavalry. At the end of the show, a concluding portrait for participating teams were formed. Then the royal anthem was played, announcing the end of the show. Then the motorcade of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos and Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II left. The event was attended along with His Majesty the Sultan and Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II by His Royal Highness Duke Philip of Edinburgh and a number of Their Highnesses, Their Excellencies and the official delegation accompanying Her Majesty and a number of Their Excellencies, the members of the European and American Diplomatic Corps, senior military officers and senior officials.